what we need to do is claim that the Olympic torch is going to be going up every street, like every street in Venice, every street in Santa Monica, every street in downtown LA, every street in Sherman Oaks and Valley Village and stuff like that, because then they'll clean up the homeless on that street. So they won't
run it straight through Compton. Yeah.
Yeah, they will not see them carry the torch through a bunch of Winnebagos where they're cooking up fentanyl. They'll clean the shit up. Like they did that with the Super Bowl. They cleaned up the path between LAX and SoFi Stadium. They're like, we can't have a bunch of junkies dying on the street because we have like the president, the vice president, the commissioner, and all the executives. Like everyone's going to be going from LAX to SoFi. So just for this few minutes, we'll pretend we're civilization and we'll at least try to give the appearance of that by cleaning this route up. But the Olympic torch, no one knows where it's going, and they could just claim it's going everywhere, and that'd just be a good excuse just to mop up. Because otherwise, we ain't doing it. There's no fucking way we're going to clean it up.
We just get a bunch of dudes with short hair walking around holding torches, screaming the Jews won't replace us. And that'll clear it out, too.
That's right.
Like, fuck this.
All right. Did you figure out your party ball, man?
Yeah. A party ball has approximately 55 beers.
Oh, I said two. I said 2.5 cases.
You
I
were
got
correct.
pretty close.
You're correct. A pony keg has about 83 beers, and a keg has 165 beers.
Oh, wow. Now I'm really angry at Dodger Stadium. Fucking prices. Jesus Christ. I mean, the thing wholesales for $40.
Yeah, and you can't really sneak shit in anymore. Back in the day, you could sneak little bottles in. I guess you maybe could. They don't really check that hard.
Oh, like the traveler bottles?
Yeah.
Like the little ones? Yeah, you might be able to do that.
I think hard liquor at sporting events is underrated. I'm not a beer guy because you end up pissing every 2 innings if you're drinking beer. So I want to drink like whiskey or like Bloody Marys, anything to just like get me fucking going.
Yeah, but then the drink prices at a bar at the ball game, it's got to be like $40. You got like a double Bloody Mary on a Sunday game,
Yeah,
right?
it ain't cheap, yeah.
Yeah.
We put it on our kids' bags. So our kids bring like little bags when we go down to the Padres because they search me and my husband's bag, but they don't search like the kids' little like tiny little backpacks. So we'll put like the little whiskey shorts and then we'll just buy rounds of Coke and then we've got our whiskey Coke. It's the best way to
really?
the Padres, yeah.
Oh, man.
So we're here to do it.
Damn, that is clever. I gotta get me some
You're
kids.
gonna get you some kids.
Or you just go the coyote route. You know what I mean? Like, a couple cartels will fucking leash you a kid so you lose the kid once you get through the turnstile, you know. And the kid he's unaccompanied. He'll just cycle back out again. You know what I mean? Like,
buy him a cheap seat, get him an upper deck seat.
No, he'll let him just come back out again and find a new family so we can mule booze into the Padre Stadium, you know?
It's the best way to do it. You know what Great Wolf Lodge? Great Wolf Lodge is like an awful, like, you know, big indoor place with a bunch of like kids rides. We do the same there. We take 4 water bottles, and in the kids' water bottles, we just fill them up with liquor. And then
I love this.
You better remember to take these bottles back from the kids.
You do. That is the key. They stink of whiskey. But.
Yeah. Can I say this? Because, you know, this does go on now with the kids, and, you know, you're taking them wherever, and there's a couple things. When we were kids, you would go somewhere, like a Little League game was 7 innings. It lasted 65 minutes, and then you got to go home. There was no tournament. There was no you flying to Arizona because the kid's going to play in 28 Little League games or whatever. That's where the booze comes in. You know what I mean? You can sit and watch 9-year-olds play 7 innings. You can't watch them play 7 games of 7 innings. At some point, you got to reach for it. You got to reach for that bottle. You got to take the edge off. Yeah, they go to the Wolf Lodge. They're there for 13 hours.
Yes.
You can't sit there sober and watch a kid on an inner tube for 13 hours without stabbing yourself.
Yeah.
Although those Little League World Series, dude, they're fucking awesome.
Oh,
I can't get enough of that.
Oh, no, at that level.
Yeah.
But this isn't
No, the shit level you got.
level.
I mean, I like drinking for good talent.
Yeah, no,
a good game.
I'm not judging. I'm just saying parents having to smuggle booze in is because these events go on way
sure.
too long.
I don't know. Even the 70-minute Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, you've got all the wine mums showing up with their like champagne bottles, and they're just slowly doing it.
It's
down under the
great. No
table.
one's going to have any recollection of their kids scoring a goal or hitting a home run or whatever.
That's what
It's all
phones
gonna-
are for, though. You know,
Yeah.
you take some video.
Get
You're
the
there.
nanny to film it. All right. Do we have? What do we have? We have that. Oh, do you have your BIM?
Found a good example for you.
Oh, okay.
I'm Doug Davis.
And I'm Esther Dillard on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Here are your top stories. The elderly white man who shot a Kansas City, Missouri black teen is charged. A white Wisconsin woman accused of spitting on BLM protesters says she wants to go to trial. And a Florida black man who was set free from life in prison will go back in for the same crime. In 2021, 65-year-old Crossley Green was given a conditional release after Florida Judge Roy Dalton overturned his conviction
White.
in 2019. He had already served 30 years of a life.
So that's
Yeah, I like the labeling.
One of them was green. But
That's
other
my
than-
favorite. All right, should we do some news?
This is what's cooking. We've got Martha Stewart is in the news as, wait for it, the oldest ever cover model of Sports Illustrated Swimsuit edition. 81 she is. She does look rad. I don't know, we can pull the picture up. There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know why they had to dress her as Big Bird. I mean, I think she looks looks great other than that.
Yeah, look, this is all stuff we've talked about before, but Sports Illustrated, the plan is to get the hottest chicks with the realest tits who look the best in a bathing suit, and then once a month you come out with that stuff. We don't need to like prove something all the time. I just feel that's what it is. I will live in a world that has spelling bees and swimsuit competitions. Like, that's fine. You can't win both, but you can be good at this or you can look good at that. That's what Sports Illustrated need to do. Now, the looks amazing in a bathing suit for an 81-year-old is like saying this chick is super hot for surviving an industrial fire. Or I could just try to fuck a hot chick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She was actually hotter when she was on
When
fire.
she was on fire.
Yeah.
I'm saying she looks amazing for 81, but
For
then
sure.
the other part is like you have to cover up so much
Sure.
too. And then there's some like airbrushing going on. But who are we trying to inspire? You know what I mean? Like, we need
Older
other
people,
elderly
probably.
women
Yeah,
getting down to two pieces.
Older people. And here's what I don't care about it. Back in the day, the Sports Illustrated swimsuit thing, it was for masturbating.
Yeah.
No one's jerking off to Sports
No,
Illustrated
these-
anymore. You've got the internet.
these
We're
weren't-
good to go.
Yeah. Well, they weren't conversation starters. They were
Right.
jackrags.
Yeah. So now it's kind of like, it's just like a magazine. Who cares? Like, no one buys magazines. It's more just like they're doing it to get attention. And no one knows who those models are anyway. So it's like,
Right.
you got a big name.
Yeah.
I saw her at the Knicks game recently, and I'm with my friend Stav, and he goes, I'd fuck Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
And I was like 10 years ago, and he's like, now. And I
Yeah.
was like, all right.
In England, we have a phrase, mutton dressed as lamb. Do you know that? So it's literally, it's about, not wanting to be a 40, 50-year-old dressed like lamb, dressed like a young one. I feel like she's like jerky at this point, right? Like
Sure.
she's fully dry. Like,
I like the leathery pieces of jerky, though.
would you jerk off to jerky though? Is the question.
It's all fine. I don't know. She was married. I think she got divorced. Her husband must be just fucking kicking himself. I mean, not only, I think she got divorced in the 60s or the 70s or something. I would ride that meal ticket right into the ground. Like, I'd just be sitting in the living room with a party ball between my legs, and she'd be in the kitchen, like testing out a line of knives and cookware, and I'd just like, go at it, sister. Like, what a gravy train. I mean, what she's got to be worth
So much. It's like those women who are like Steve Jobs, like, I don't see this working out.
right.
It's like, oh, you missed out on a lot of money.
Yeah, I would have stayed with her. If
I think
were
it's
him.
weird because it's also supposed to be inspirational, right, to other women. I don't know any other 81-year-old women that would want to be half naked in front of hundreds of millions of people anyway. Like, what's the inspiration? What's the goal?
I think the New World Orders were talking about it, and that's the thing. Like they had Elon Musk's mom was on last year or the year before. Do you remember
she was
that
like
one?
73 or something. Yeah, so this is just broke the record.
So like when my son is in his 40s, there'll be like 121-year-old women on this thing. Like, what direction are we going? Could we move it? Could we go a little Benjamin Button and move it on down toward 19 again?
I'd fuck Martha Stewart at 113. I mean, I see it, you know?
Yeah. I do.
No, I don't know, man. It's like, it's for older people. It's not, you know, it's not for.
I don't even think it's for dudes anymore. I think it's like for chicks now, right?
I think so. Yeah. It's like all these companies are like, it's not working. You know, we'll try another demographic. It's like, well, it's not working because it's a magazine that people they don't buy shit anymore.
Oh, we have Boys Gone Wild. This is my bit, my brainchild from the Man Show.
Warning, this tape is not suitable for younger viewers. Adults only. Girls, you asked for it and you got it. The all-new Boys Gone Wild 2. This video is jam-packed with explosive new footage of the hottest guys from across the nation. Ladies, these aren't paid actors. They're actual boys next door on spring break, uncensored and out of control. Order now and you'll receive the all-new Candid Nut Shots free. Men caught off guard and caught on tape. Fat men, young men, rich men, fat men. Ladies, you'll think you died and went to scrotum heaven. You'd have to be nuts not to order this. That's Boys Gone Wild 2 for $19.95. And if you order right now, Candid Nut Shots free. Order now and see what happens when boys go wild. Warning, this tape is not suitable for younger viewers. Adults only.
God.
Candid nut shots.
Oh, God. What did I ask for?
Well, there you go. Reciprocity,
Take
or
it.
turnabout, or something's fair play.
Okay. What else? Dave Chappelle recently, he was doing a surprise show up at the San Francisco Masonic Auditorium on Thursday night, and he's not feeling the San Fran vibes right now, reportedly saying, what the fuck has happened to this place? I guess the story was he was dining out at an Indian restaurant in the city's Tenderloin district. And as he walked into the restaurant, a homeless person defecated in front of the establishment just as he was walking in.
Smelled better than the curry, though. It was a Mexican standoff between Indian food, human fecal matter. I'm going to call this one a tie. Sorry, go ahead.
I saw a homeless guy shit in front of me when I was in SF a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, you know, when in Rome, you know?
Yeah.
This is what they're known for.
I've seen it in LA.
specialties.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Chappelle's interesting in that all comedians just sort of see stuff and then they talk about it, and then they're like, Dave Chappelle's railing against whatever. It's like, that's all comedians do. Like, and also, he has to be held to some standard or something, or we must now be motivated to do something because Dave Chappelle is talking about. Like, it's all comedians do is they go, what's going on with this? And here's my
shit on
thinking of
things.
it. They shit on shitters out front of Indian restaurants, but it's always it's strange, our relationship. Like, he starts talking about transgender or something, and I was like, uh-oh, now we got a problem because Chappelle brought up transgender. Like, yeah, that's what comedians do. They look around, they see what's happening, and then they bring shit up.
Yeah, SF is just, it's a lot of cities changed. I mean, there's a crazy wealth disparity. So you either see a dude walking around on the street like he's in a zombie movie, and then you see another dude float by in like a fucking, like a flying car. And you're like, yeah, this might be a problem. I don't know. It looks like it's Star Trek and Dawn of the Dead, right by side, you know?
That's what he said. It has devolved into a half Glee, half zombie movie.
Oh, there you go.
Great minds.
I love SF, but yeah, it's like, you know, there's been some problems.
Yeah, I do kind of wonder how, like, Los Angeles has the same thing. We have the largest group of people who own homes that are worth more than $50 million. And we also have the largest group of people who live for free in a tent. Like, that's never going to have a good ending. You cannot. And by the way, all the civilizations that are sort of right before they fell apart. They had the let them eat cake people, and they had the fucking people at the palace walls with like torches and human fecal matter. You know, like this. I think where you want to live is like everyone's kind of in the same bracket, doing about the same thing. Like the best neighbors and neighborhoods and stuff are the kind of down the middle. No one's exquisitely rich.
Right.
No one is destitute, poor. It's just kind of everyone's kind of, which keeps everyone on the same page, like rules wise and stuff. Everyone's sort of about the same. So San Fran is definitely that.
Yeah.
But I think probably get some of that in like Seattle, but certainly Los Angeles.
But I mean, a lot of them
sure.
are cool cities. I mean, like you want to live where you're talking about, move to like Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right.
You know, it's like fine. Just San Francisco is an interesting place, a beautiful city, but there's some bad shit going on.
Well, so then the question, because I was talking to Dr. Drew about this earlier today, which is, I think there's a take, and I don't know, but I think the take is the right wing is like, we got to get some goddamn law and order going in these places. We need some rules. We need some judgment. We need some police. Like, we got to clean this shit up. And then the left is kind of like, I think they look at things as sort of like a cycle. Like, yeah, you got a lot of homeless now, and then it kind of goes away, and then there's more, and then it's like everything's kind of cyclical. Like, New York used to be dangerous. Then New York got safe. Now New York's getting shitty again. And it's kind of a cycle, but they don't really connect the policies to the effect of the cycle. It's like way too progressive, we're not judging. LA did the same thing with the homeless. When they start coming up with the euphemisms like the unhoused is...
I find that to be very helpful. I think if you have no home, you care a lot about political correctness. So I think it's good.
Right. Like as if they care as much about what their title is as Mexicans care about being called Latinx, which is not at all. These are white chicks, middle-aged, angry, educated white chicks who care enough for the both of them, really, because the Mexicans are too stupid to care. We'll care for you, and homeless, you guys are too out of it to care. We'll care for you, but. Something needs to be done. And
there's a callousness in these cities because you see this shit so much. I mean, I think they just called in the National Guard for fentanyl in SF. You have to fact check, but I mean, like you see this shit every day, and it just becomes part of your life. I was on the train in New York City, and there was a man with no legs pushing himself using his upper body, begging for money, and I overheard a guy on the train whisper to his friend, "This one's not faking it." Really? That's not a good sign.
Right. Yes.
You know, I mean, this becomes your reality. You become used to it, and I think the more you see it, I think you're right. Government's got to do something more than just, you know. I don't know what the National Guard does for fentanyl. They're like, that guy's fucking sick, and you're like, yeah. What do you do?
I think they're trying to not let so much of it come in. I think that's what they're doing. But anyway, every experiment involving leaving humans alone to their best discretion and they can govern themselves, it just doesn't work.
It was pre-fentanyl too. This
Yeah.
shit seems to be bad.
Yeah. So anyway, Chappelle noticed something that everyone else is noticing, and now we want to know why he's noticing it. Must be nice to be Chappelle, though. You just say shit that everyone else is talking about, and you go, I mean, he's a great comedian, but what I'm saying is everyone's like, did you hear that Dave Chappelle was talking about it? It's like... Yeah, that's what he does. That's what everyone does.
I would get annoyed when people would talk about him getting canceled, though, because I'm like, he's killing it. He's doing the best of it. Yeah. When people were like, they're canceling Chappelle, and I'm like, I'm in a fucking strip mall this weekend.
Yes.
That's what he'd be performing here if he was canceled. He's at the Masonic. He's the number one, I would assume, the number one selling comedian.
I think so. Yeah.
And I think he's got a great life. I feel like he's like the type of drinker that just does the IV drip all the time, which is like that's like fucking first class alcoholic. I love that.
The IV hangover repair.
Yes.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Is it?
I mean, look, I don't do it a lot, but it's like every once in a while. I mean, if you do it too much, you're like, this is flushing money down the toilet. But like,
Kimbles has her kids smuggle in the IV bag. She brings in the drip bag and the rig. It's collapsible. They put it in the kid's back, the Hello Kitty backpack. They get into the stadium and then they can set the whole rig up.
I put it next to my colostomy bag and I let them duke it out.
Yeah, tell me about that. I've always thought about that. Well, where you're in Vegas, like, oh, you're going to tie one on. You're going to have to get the. How does it work?
I did it for Mark Norman's wedding. Stavros and I got. Well, I was fucked up, and he just I was at we were in New Orleans. We were like wasted. It was me, Ari Shaffir, and Stavros Halkias, the comics were out. We're playing. We're hitting the casino in New Orleans. We're getting tanked. We end up at a gas station at like 3 a.m. And Stav is like, we got to go to this place. They have the best fried chicken. So we're just eating like, all right, we're just stuffing our face at a gas station. We're fried crab, all this shit. We're stuffing our face in the hotel lobby. And I was like, man, imagine eating this shit sober. And Stav is like, I'm completely sober. I was like, all right.
Really?
That's fucking weird. The next day we get the IV drips, and it's like, saved the day. I mean, I was good for the wedding.
How much does it cost?
Jesus, it's expensive. It's like $250 or $300.
How long does it take?
Takes a while. The guy we got in New Orleans was hilarious because he was just like making jokes the whole time. So he was just like, oh, let me put some more gay in this for you guys.
Oh, right.
he was like, oh my God, you must be feeling really gay right now. And we were just like, this is kind of what you want,
And did you feel better immediately?
Yeah.
It's that big a difference.
Oh, you're just, it's like they put hydration and vitamins. I mean, it's an insane waste of. I mean, I usually just take the hangover. I've done it only a few times in my life, but I usually just take the hangover as like the punishment. I'm like, I don't deserve to feel good for doing this to myself. But sometimes the hangover feels like unfair. Sometimes you're like, this doesn't match what I did to myself. As you get older,
it's like in
shocking.
Con Air when they gave Nick Cage 10 years because a couple of townies attacked him in a parking lot and he defended himself. The headaches can be that, like the hangover can be that way too. Like 2 party balls and I can't go to work. Come on.
Sometimes it fucks you up so much that you're like, dude, this is not. This is. I've definitely been in that scenario where you're like puking. You're like, I need to do something. I gotta. It's that scenario where you're like, I'll do anything to not feel this way.
Mm-hmm. You need to know more nurses. They just give it out for free.
Do they?
Yes. If you go to like a bachelorette party, there's always one nurse, and she'll just bring a bunch, and you just all get them for free the next day. Yeah, you buy her a couple of drinks the night before, and then her role is just to bring out the IVs the next day.
You've done it as well?
Sort out. Yes.
It definitely helps. I mean, that's like Bert Kreischer's MO. It's like he always has the IV drips.
This is a hard drinking crew in this place. I like it. I feel it's the first time in a long time I've not felt judged. I feel like we're kindred spirits. Like, as a matter of fact, we should be going to more ball games and bachelor parties because I feel like it'd be a real judgment-free environment for us. Oh yeah, you guess you should have one friend who's a nurse.
Hell yeah.
I mean, even if her personality's not great, she's not the life of the party, but just to have a nurse on hand.
She IVs herself the next morning.
That's what I'm saying.
That's rad. There's nothing sexier than a nurse that can IV herself.
And is it the concoction of like potassium and vitamin B or whatever? That's it's the compote.
Just water works too, though.
It helps you too if you're sick. I mean, if you're coming down with a cold. I mean, I'm on the road so much. Sometimes I'm like, I've done it like once or twice just to like be like, I'm fucking sick. Let me just try to get back on my feet.
Big difference.
Oh my God, yeah. I think it just kicks the cold. I mean, because you can only drink so much water. I'll drink bottle after bottle, but then when you have it just in your blood flow, you're like, holy shit.
The problem with the hydration and the booze is they do that thing, and once in a while you try to make some sort of point of it where they go, look, if you don't want to be hungover, then you have to have a glass of water like in between each drink. Which always sounds doable at like 2 p.m, but at some point, fuck it. I'm not going to I'm not drinking. And then you try to make it all up by drinking 7 quarts of dishwater the following morning. And it's like, you got to do it while you're drinking the booze.
Or just before you go to sleep. That's the way to do it. 3 pints before you go to sleep. That's my MO.
Yeah, but when you're getting really ripped, no one is like, another old fashioned and a water.
Right.
No one does that shit.
No, nobody does any of the stuff you promised you would do. Like, I'm going to hug my children when I see them on the next visitation.
You end up hugging someone else's children? Like, what the hell?
Too hard. All right, what else we got?
Oh, so NBC's new moneymaker, the Kelly Clarkson Show, they're in some hot water right now. There's claims from 11 employees of a toxic work environment. Of course, Kelly Clarkson Show has now replaced the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Overworked, underpaid, bullying, verbal abuse. Rolling Stone spoke to the employees who alleged that the HR department is just ignoring their claims as well. Kelly.
Well, first off, toxic work environments used to be toxic. Like these, you're working with lead, you're working with heavy metals. Like there used to be, it was like cyberbullying and bullying. Like bullying used to be getting punched, and then we morphed it.
I actually think cyberbullying's worse.
Cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Punch in the face is like one. These kids are getting catfished. That's fucking.
Well, the thing about the thing about bullying versus like cyberbullying is bullying. There are many a valuable lesson can be learned from being bullied. You know, like physically bullied. Like when I was a kid, like every 9-year-old that was in Taekwondo class was there because they got bullied. You know, like it can drive you toward a martial art. You can also pick up some good negotiating skills. Like you can learn to be a good yes man, you know, and talk your way out of stuff. Most comedians I know are like, I'd go to a new school and I would get bullied, but I made everyone laugh. And when I made people laugh, like there's some positive byproduct that can come from physical bullying. Cyber's just, I'm cutting on myself, I'm huffing copier toner, and I'm going to take out the fucking school the next day.
I feel like the last generation of bullies were like goons, and these new kids are like supervillains. I feel like they're giving wedgies. These kids are like, "What's your social security number?" or something. You know, it's like darker bullying.
Yes. Yeah, it's a darker. The other one was much more sort of analog. Like you knew who the bullies were by their size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell who's doing all the cyberbullying based on seeing what the guy looks like with a shirt off. You know what I mean? It's like the husky kids were bullied, the little kids were bullies, and the spindly kids got bullied. But, all right, let's get back to the toxic work environment.
Yes. Well, Kelly seems to be exonerated. No one's saying Kelly's done anything wrong, but yeah, it doesn't sound good for the high-ups, particularly
first
the
off,
producer.
Fuck these young pussy workers. Like, get the fuck to work. These people have no idea what work is or like work's supposed to be. And their idea of like a toxic work environment is like, well, they had the egg and the salt bagels, but they were out of the everything bagels. Like Crafty. And I was pretty fucking, I had to go sit in my office and close the door.
Yeah.
And really, I got in a fetal position. Like, you cannot, there cannot be a toxic, I've been on a million sets. I've done my own shows a million times, but I've also been on all the Ellens and all the late nights and I've done everything. You can't have a toxic work environment and provide ample amounts of free food. They can't both exist in the same place. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way I would walk on a construction site and go, fucking Mike Sturmat, my foreman, said, oh, there's a whole spread here. Like, I would never label anything that involved free food as a bad work environment. So just the fact that there's a craft service with a bounty of free food and you can still be shitty about the environment. It's a bunch of 26-year-olds who don't like people telling them to do stuff. That's what's toxic
what is
about
actually
it.
what is the example?
Well, also they said
give?
overworked, underpaid. I mean, that's what's even more annoying. Don't do the job. Go do another job. I mean, if so many people would probably say this is a dream job, but you're casting or whatever on this show. You know,
I've said this. I always say this to everybody all the time. Like, you know, when Bernie Sanders is like, you're supposed to work at McDonald's for slave wages. Like, don't work at McDonald's. If you don't have to work at McDonald's. You know what I mean? You know, Amazon doesn't pay their. You don't have to work for Amazon. You do know that. Mm-hmm. Like, you do. There's no law that requires you to work for Amazon if, in fact, they're paying slave wages and abusing their employees. Then you have the option to not. We don't have to work for Kelly Clarkson. Fully 30% of America probably doesn't have to work for Kelly Clarkson. It could be into the 40s. I don't know. You don't have to have that job. Like, I had construction jobs where my foreman Jan was a dick, and I said, fuck you. Like, I didn't go back to the job. It was a decent paying earthquake rehab job back in the day, and Jan was an asshole, and I was like, fuck Jan. I left.
I mean,
And there was no free food.
So one of them was shouted at. They didn't like that. One of them got a staple gun thrown at them. That's a little intense.
That's not
I'll
good.
Give that one. That's a
I'd
staple
love
gun.
to
could be.
hear that story, though.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, ugh. I feel like my theory is you've got a 9-to-1 ratio. So you think about 10 people, whether it's the mums that I hang out with or whatever else. There's always one that is a complete drama queen.
Yes.
Right? There's always within every group
The
of people,
nurse.
someone that's going to bring out their,
It's weird to go. It's weird to go to page 6
or,
about something that doesn't seem, as far as I can tell, that bad. It's weird that someone like leaked this.
Yes. Well, it was a Rolling Stone interview.
Oh.
I think it's the fact that it's also the HR team are in trouble now because the claims went ignored. It's
All right. It's
what matters is Kelly Clarkson's above it. God
if
love
you're
her.
indoors and there's air conditioning and there's free food, it cannot dip below a 6 in terms of work environment.
Do you have an iPhone? The people that made that were in a
Yeah.
toxic
Right.
work environment.
Right. Yes.
You're doing okay.
Are there nets up around the Kelly Clarkson Show for you guys when you attempt to kill yourself? You'll be caught by jumping off the roof and hitting the net. And if not, then no, because they are where they make those iPhones. Right. All right. So cry me a
Gonna
fucking
make us
river.
stronger.
I can't stand anyone under 40 now. Sorry, Sam. I think. Yeah.
Okay. So the Cash App founder, Bob Lee, he was murdered last month in San Fran.
White man. I learned on the.
Yes. Elon Musk was a friend of his. He tweeted about it saying violent crime in San Fran is horrific, like I've been talking about. So originally they
I heard
thought
that
it
from
was
Dave Chappelle. Yeah.
Originally they thought it was a random act of violence, but it turns out this Mr. Bob Lee frequented a lot of underground sex and drug parties in San Francisco, with the sister of the dude that killed him. So not so violent, not so random after all.
I feel bad for his family because the only way to get this guy off who stabbed him or to get him from murder one, down to manslaughter or whatever is they're going to have to just say that Bob Lee was a sex addict and forced her to do things that she didn't want to do. And then there's going to be some like rape allegations and he will have fed her drugs and then raped her or whatever. Like, Bob Lee is going to have to be completely destroyed in order to get the guy who stabbed him from murder down to like a manslaughter or something like that. So they're going to have to. And by the way, it would happen to all of us. If you ever get into a legal environment and hear what the other side has to say about you, you're the worst person in the fucking world.
I mean, Adam, I've seen you at underground sex parties. This could have been us, So
Really?
it's very fortunate. And
Clearly, Dave Chappelle didn't get to go there. Otherwise, he may have had a different view of San Francisco.
Well, you
This
can
is
tell how
rad.
badly the media wanted this to be a random act.
Yes.
You could tell, like, they want to paint the story, like, look how fucked up SF is. So I remember even seeing it being like, wow, holy shit, I guess. Because I do think the media it'll get out of proportion sometimes with, like, the actual crime. Like in New York too, New York is there'll be one horrible thing that happens, like the guy getting choked out in the subway, but I don't think that's really
that actually
indicative.
got me closer to riding the subway. I watch Fox, so I thought maybe I can ride the subway as long as there's a bunch of vigilante Marines up there keeping the peace. I could see myself doing that.
I mean, but I do think that they get a little carried away with how
No, they
bad the
do.
actual city is, and SF is like,
But also, so what? He was divorced. He was single. He's got
Yeah.
kids, but the mum said he's a great dad. Great.
you go to your sex
He's
parties.
at parties doing his thing. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know the nationality of the guy who stabbed him, but I think there's going to be like a cultural thing where it's like in our world, if you take a man's sister and bring her to these things and feed her drugs, then I reacted sort of culturally. Like Indians can take peyote. They'll look the other way.
this is like the new West Side Story.
So I don't know, where is he? Oh, he's Iranian? Yeah. We're going to free him up. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how legit an argument it is, but you go where I'm from, when a guy takes a guy's sister out to the Eyes Wide Shut, party or whatever, you get to stab him. That's where I come from.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has got to be like one of the perks of being a billionaire is you get to go to the cool underground sex parties. And You just got to pick wisely. It's like Russian roulette a little bit, you know? Iranian roulette. I don't know.
Are the underground sex parties literally underground? Like, are they subterranean? Like, there are no functioning windows? Are there any that take place, like, on the mezzanine level or something?
Do you get service? Does the Cash App actually work underground?
Yeah,
I mean, they're all
Wi-Fi
on hotel rooftop decks, aren't
Yeah.
they?
I'm trying to fluff up with some porn here, but I got no signal. Now I got to go stand out in the fucking lobby,
I visited
get some
them.
wood before I come back down again.
I visited them in that. It just escaped me. What's the TV show with the dad with the load of money and the 4 kids? Succession. I bet you that underground drug party scene in
Yes.
Succession. That's how I want it to be. That episode was just golden.
That was great.
Yeah.
I watch movies and I'm like constantly going, does this exist? Like, is this? Am I missing out?
It was Schindler's List, unfortunately.
Every time an episode of Fast and Furious comes out, and at some point they pull their cars up and there's just rando hot chicks just shaking their ass, and the music's pumping, and there's just hot chicks like spread out all over, like randomly. Like, I don't know if they're paid, I don't know what they're doing there. Like, I watched it with my son, and I was like, there is a street scene. There are guys who drive cars. This exists, but these skinny chicks in the fucking belly shirts and the bikini bottom, this isn't a. Don't expect, like, if you get heavily involved with the street racing scene, don't expect this part of it. Crazy lighting. They're all just hot. They're all just hanging out. I don't think that exists, but the underground sex scene, I don't. Okay, here's my problem. I've seen way too much real sex. They used to have that show on HBO or Showtime or whatever it is, and they'd have. Like, they'd go to, like, the swingers party, and they'd show, like, the swingers convention. I didn't see anything above a 4.5 at any of those conventions.
That's
Like,
why I
they're
hated that
all-
show. I was a kid trying to find titties on
Yes.
TV, and I was like, this is all I got?
Yeah, no. I would
Devastating.
I want to start a class action lawsuit because I would tune in going, oh, this is going to be good. And it was something out of Mainz, Germany with some weird, some lycra fetish chick for fat chicks or something. It's like, this is not jackable. No.
Between that and Robin Bird, I almost killed myself as a kid. It was terrible.
So, but there's underground sex parties?
I guess. And maybe San Fran's not so bad after all. I mean,
Has anyone ever gone to anything that was anything close to anything like that?
I'm boring, man.
I feel like I've been able to say yes to every other question so far today, but not the underground
I
sex
just think
parties,
they would be
unfortunately.
horrible. I've heard about them from people I know, and they just sound horrible. You think they're going to be cool, and then he was like, it's just like gross people.
Oh, I could have used that IV, man. The closest I got, I was in Houston for the Super Bowl, and we had to do like a celebrity go-kart race like the following, like on Saturday, and the Super Bowl was Sunday, and I was like there with Jimmy, and we're signed up for like celebrity go-kart race, and celebrity go-kart race started at like 9 a.m, but they wanted you there at like 8 a.m, and Jimmy's so fucking anal, like he'll be at your door at like 6:45 going like, we're going to be late to the celebrity go-kart race. We got there, no one else was there, but we're the first celebrities to get there. But the point is I did go to an after hours Houston, like the bars are all closed, but we're keeping it going out by the airport kind of thing. So here's some Jaeger shots, and I did that till like 4:30 in the morning, and then at like 6:45, Jimmy's like, we're doing the race. And I was like, that's when I needed that.
Oh, shit.
I needed that IV.
It does help.
It would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've stayed in a hostel in Berlin with about 12 people in the same room, and that's about as close as you can get to an underground sex party, because you know it's just me and one girl, and you know there's a bunch of other things going on in the beds around you, which is all a bit disgusting at 4 in the morning.
Well, yeah.
Hostels are.
As long as we're going there. When I turn on the news and I see the like just cavalcade of young males that are like coming into this country, and they canceled Title 42 or whatever. They get Title whatever, and the border's just flooded, and all the politicians and the sheriffs and the whatever, and Brownsville, Texas, are like, we don't have any place to put all these people. And they're mostly young males, and they're like sleeping on the streets, and we don't have accommodations for them. And I'm like, where are they beating off? Like, as a dad, that's where my thoughts turn to. Like, everyone else is like, who's feeding these people? And,
To the Martha Stewart magazine.
yes, I'm like, they're sleeping on the street. These are like, you remember when you were 19, Sam?
Yeah.
You didn't put together a lot of multiple days where you didn't rub one out, did you?
I mean, of course, I didn't need much. It was a picture of Jennifer Love Hewitt's smile. I was fucking
Right.
gone.
But these guys are all camped on the streets.
Yeah.
They're like strewn about. They walked here from Honduras. Like, where are they pit stopping? You know what I mean? There's a lot of like, are they rubbing it out in the tent? Like, what? There is no tent. Like, there's footage. I'm just like sleeping on the sidewalk, like a blanket and stuff. Like, are they?
Maybe that's the real underground sex party. Maybe that's what it is.
I've never seen any like hands moving under the blanket, but I mean, you can't take 20-year-old dudes times several tens of thousands and expect them not rubbing one out somewhere,
That
right?
blanket's going to snap in half like a cracker.
God. Yeah.
Terrible.
No,
Yeah.
it's not enough simple green to ever make that thing usable again. Thank God birds don't beat off. Because they get the shit out of us. They already do enough damage with their poop. Could you imagine? Or maybe that isn't poop. I don't know.
It's thick.
It's viscous.
Yeah.
It's got a white hue to it. All right, let's not even think about it.
Oh, gosh.
Too late.
So climate change scientists are trying to get us to eat more bugs, get bugs into our diet to counter the meat, soybean proteins, and the other high carbon foods. They're trying to encourage us to eat more farming bugs. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I was thinking about it. It's kind of weird because they now allow like X amount of parts of insects and cockroaches and stuff in like breakfast cereal.
That is so weird. To me.
There's some FDA thing that said like it can be 1 part per million cockroach ass, because they get into the mill and the stuff, and you could imagine. So
Yeah. No, I mean, they say you eat a shitload of, insects every year without knowing it, but I like not knowing it.
yeah, and I always pictured that guy's like on a moped yawning. I didn't know it was actually in his flakes. You know what I mean? I think it was actual like real time insect.
That's why I
eating.
stopped eating Raisin Bran.
Yeah,
I just feel like it looks like I wouldn't be able to detect an insect in there with all the raisins.
yeah. So then you have to kind of go like, all right, well, we're getting onto the synthetic stuff and we're getting onto the bug stuff, and everyone keeps talking about the bug stuff. By the way, the people that are currently pissed off that we're eating cows will graduate into being pissed off for us eating crickets, because here's their theme. I'm pissed off. I'll tell you what it's about, and I'll curtail it to wherever's going on now, but I'm pissed off because I'm pissed off. Now, I can't say I'm pissed off because I'm pissed off. I have to go, I'm pissed off because the climate, or because methane, or because meat is murder, or because we didn't pull out of Vietnam. But I've been around these people. They're just pissed off. So they will get, PETA will get angry at you eating June bugs at some point. They will then, Sam, be prepared. They will call you Hitlerian, and they will say that your treatment of cockroaches is no different than the Jews
Stealing
in World
food
War
from
III.
snakes and
They will. It's not like we're gonna eat crickets and move on. It's not going to happen. There will be the same amount of people that are upset.
It's always weird, those people where they draw the line too, because as you said, the goalpost keeps kind of moving in.
Right.
I mean, when they got to methane with cows, I'm like, cow farts is what we're talking about?
Now, yes, we are.
This is it?
That's right.
Okay. I mean, also the fact that some of this shit, I mean, we keep moving it in. Like, I have people that are like, I won't eat pigs, but I'll eat lamb, and I'm like, what's at this point?
Yeah. Now, the people do that with veal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to eat a baby cow, but I'll wait till they're like 13. Then I'll eat them. I wouldn't kill a 4-year-old, but I'd kill like a 15-year-old. Yeah. Sure. Why not?
I mean, I don't get any of it. I kind of just like, you know what? I don't want to think about it.
Well, that's the point. The point is how much of your consumption is sort of based on knowing what it is versus just pure flavor and nutrition. Because, the flavor and the nutrition part, we can work that out in the lab. There's no doubt. It's the part where you say porterhouse, and you can feel the sensation of cutting into it. You know what I mean? With the twins and the party ball. You know what I mean? Like how much of that.
When you can cut into the meat and you see the blood and that doesn't bother you, you're like, maybe I'm just an asshole. I don't know, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, they're pushing bugs.
It doesn't bother me. I just don't want to know about it. It's like one of my guilty pleasures is the McDonald's milkshake, right? Which is full of animal fat.
Yeah.
Right? And I hate it, but if I can get over it on a Saturday morning, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go.
There's animal fat in the milkshake?
Yes.
Why?
But like a lot, like fatty fat, as opposed to like the milk, the milk.
It doesn't bother you. You just don't want to know about it.
I just don't want to know about it. I don't care if there's cricket powder in my protein powder, whatever.
That's what Lindbergh thing Charles Lindbergh thing was with the Holocaust. It's like, look, it doesn't bother me. I just don't want to know about it. Do you understand?
You said I'd get called Hitler, and there you go.
I guess it's where we're heading. I guess they can multiply quickly and they're easy on the methane because I've never walked in a room like, did a cricket fart in here? What's going on? Gas leak or the cricket fart? But there will be something will happen. And people will be upset, and there'll be a reason why we have to not eat crickets at a certain point.
I think you just, if it tasted good, I would eat it. If they were like, here's fried crickets and it was delicious, I'd give it a shrimp kind of look like cockroaches.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of, I would
try
it.
It's always crickets, by the way.
Yeah.
And crickets are the insect equivalent to peanut butter, just sort of a universal thing that everyone will go, like, you want to bait a trap, get some peanut butter, you can, it's like it's always crickets. They're crickets, like snakes eat crickets and toads eat crickets, like people now eat crickets. Crickets got to be pissed because they're going to be like, who doesn't eat us at this point?
Like, what about snails? I think snails are more like an insect than an animal to me. And have you guys ever eaten a snail? Escargot?
I've tried it, yeah.
It's fine. Covered in enough garlic butter. Delicious.
If you put butter on anything, you're kind of...
You do enough butter and enough garlic, you can put a golf ball in there, cook it long enough. It'll be fine.
Deep fried tarantula.
There's two things that'll save anything. Drenched in garlic and butter or tempura batter.
Yes.
You can take your 5 least popular vegetables, like the vegetables like you don't like eggplant? You're gonna when I dip in this shit, and I'll put some like sweet sauce next to it, and you will eat an entire eggplant.
Or chocolate covered crickets are definitely a thing.
You can chocolate cover.
Who eats that though? That's crazy.
I don't know, but I've definitely seen them.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more. Sam's got a hot date.
So in Britain there was the first baby ever made from 3 people's DNA. So they do that by combining
one of those underground parties. The first guy didn't pull out.
So it's done in an effort to prevent the children from inheriting rare genetic diseases. So it's 99% 2 people's, and then they just take out a little bit of DNA and put some in. Wild.
I'm not sure we're like between this and the eating of the crickets, like maybe we're heading somewhere, some Orwellian place. You know what I mean?
They do 3 people, and what's the relationship to the 3 now? Is it like mom, dad, and like
mom, dad,
uncle?
and donor?
I
don't know. It's super weird, but I've got friends that have done it. It's that's what I don't understand. It says first baby ever, and then it says this is one of the first 5 in the UK. So. Clearly not true, but top 5. But it's definitely, I've got friends that have done it in the States as well, and you can just literally take out certain genes because you can choose whether your baby's male or female now when you do IVF. That's very common standard practice.
And they'll say things like that. This one might be slow. Don't pick this boy. It's crazy what they could do. Yeah.
My husband and I did IVF like 3 times, and one of our kids asked the other day, he said, like, what did, how are we born? What happened? And I haven't figured out how to tell him yet that he wasn't like made out of love or sex. He was just made from his dad, like being in a room jerking off to a porno. I haven't figured out that that's a very weird concept of IVF. But
Next to a migrant male that come here for a better life.
It's a very weird, this is how you came into the world story.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I did the same thing, but the good news is the kids they're not interested.
No.
They don't ask questions.
Yeah.
They don't want to know. They don't want to know about the fucking man show,
No,
much less how they got here. They have no interest in anything that happened before 10 minutes
Yes.
ago. Like they have zero interest in any history or any accomplishments or any trials or tribulations or beating off. That's such a scam. I had the same thing. Like, it's such a fucking scam. All right, here's my general principle in life. If there's a ladder and it's an A-frame aluminum ladder and it says maximum capacity 300 pounds, that means you're good to about 550. It absolutely means that, because if that thing collapsed at 310 pounds, there'd be a lawsuit, right? So when you see shit, like when the doctors say this, oh, you're coming in for like oral surgery on Monday morning, nothing after midnight, Sunday night, no fluids, no food, nothing after midnight. And then you go, okay, so that's Monday morning at 8 a.m. Like going in. Okay, you'll go back to the same guy like three years later for another thing, and the appointment will be at 3 in the afternoon, and I go, nothing after midnight. And I go, no, hold on, I'm doing some math, because nothing after midnight at 8 a.m., that's 12 hours, but nothing after midnight at 3 in the afternoon the following day, the procedure, I get to tack on 6 hours to eating and drinking. If I want to have a fucking foot long at 2 a.m., I get to, because this is, and they'll just go, nothing after midnight, nothing after midnight. And if you talk to Dr. Drew, he'll just say, yeah, just doctors just do that all the time. Just nothing after, don't do this. Don't do that.
But they have rules for stupid people, right?
Right. Well,
they can't understand if it's past 9 a.m. They have to just use midnight.
They have rules for people. They have everyone has rules for everyone but them, because they might not want to do that. They might want breakfast that day, but they don't give a fuck whether you eat breakfast or not. So when it comes to the pregnancy stuff, where you have to create the sperm sample, they'll go, you can do it at home and bring it in, but if you're further than 20 minutes away, you can't do it. And I'm like, and they're like, yeah, we're like 26 minutes from your house.
Why is it more than 20?
It could go south, or you could have an incident on the road and throw it at somebody or something. I could get angry enough if some asshole cuts me off in a Prius and he's fucking big load on his windshield. Or, I don't know.
It was a bird.
It was a bird. That was a migrant guy beat off on him. So they go 20. You got 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, or 25, you know what I mean? And like 20 minutes. And it's like, but the shit, if they say 20 minutes, the shit's good for an hour.
Right.
But you still got to go in and rub one out.
Yes. I guess the point with this is how dangerous it is, because yes, great if we can stop Crohn's disease or something, right? And we stop having all these kids with whatever diseases. But all of a sudden, at what point can you just say, hey, we just want our little girl to be brunette with big boobs? Like, at what point, when does it stop?
I'm not going to stop you, if that's what you're saying. Didn't hear the Crohn's part, but I get your second part of the dissertation, and I'm for that.
There you go.
Yeah, this is it's what we're doing right now with AI. Like, hey,
It's crazy. Well, isn't Putin's daughter involved in some sort of like hormone therapy where you can kind of make the kid however you want? It's like going to be like superhero shit. There's going to be no kids with like allergies. Thank God the Russians figured that one out before.
Right.
But no, it's you're right. AI. It's like
AI is like, oh, good, help the kid with his homework or something, and now it's like, oh, they got the launch codes, and they got the nuclear football, and they've deemed us dangerous to their existence, and they want to take us out. Like, I mean, it all goes. Well, actually, there's a little pit stop in the middle where porn gets involved, like with whatever technology there is. There has to, like, the porn industry has to wet its beak somewhere in the middle of this, and then we'll get on to destroying the world.
Yeah, you hear the sex robot part, you're like, fantastic. Every other part, like end of humanity, not as good. But,
Right.
Yeah.